हेलो फ्रेंड्स, आपका फिर से स्वागत है हमारे यूट्यूब के चैनल इग्नो पॉइंट में। आज की वीडियो में हम डिस्कस करेंगे अंडरस्टैंडिंग प्रोज BEGE 141 का गेस्ट पेपर। तो आइए देखते हैं फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन। व्हाट चाइल्डिश प्रैंक डिड Bertrand plays on the doctor's coachman? Write a brief answer. There was also a real tortoise which strayed one day by mistake into the library. This suggests a prank to the younger generation. During dinner, Brownie John's tobacco pouch was placed near the drawing room fire, and when the lady turned from dinner, it was dramatically discovered that this time the tortoise had got into the drawing room. Once it's been picked up, somebody exclaimed with astonishment that its back had grown soft. Lord Carlisle fetched from the library the appropriate volume of the encyclopedia and read out a pretended passage saying the great heat sometimes had this effect. My grandmother expressed the greatest interest in fact of natural history and frequently alluded to it on subsequent occasion. Many years later, when she was quarreling with Lady Calcy about home rule, her daughter maliciously told her the truth of this incident. My grandmother retorted, "I may be many things, but I am not a fool. I refuse to believe you." At the age of 11, she began Ulysses with my brother as my tutor. This was one of the great event of my life and dazzling as first love. I had never imagined that there was anything so delicious in the world. After I had learned the fifth proposition, my brother told me that it was generally considered difficult, but I had found no difficulties whatever. This was the first time I had drawn down upon me and that I might have some intelligence from the moment until Whitehead and I finished Principles Mathematica when I was 38. Mathematics was my chief interest, and my chef source of happiness. Like all happiness, however, it was not unalloyed. I had been told that Ulysses proved things and was much disappointed that he started with examines. At first, I refused to accept that unless my brother could offer me some reasons for doing so, but he said, "If you don't accept them, we cannot go on, and I wish to go on." I reluctantly admitted them, the doubt as the premises of mathematics, which I felt at that moment, remained with me and determined the course of my subsequent work. It would be completely misleading to suggest that my childhood was so solemnity and seriousness. I got just as much fun out of my life as I could. Some of it I am afraid of the somewhat mischievous kinds. The family doctor, an old Scotchman with mutton chop whiskey, used to come in his brougham which waited at the front door while the man of healing spoke his pieces. His coachman had a exquisite top hat calculated to advertise the excellence of the practice. I used to get on the roof above his splendid hat pieces and drop rotten rosebuds out of the gutter on to its flat top. They spread all over with the delicious squish and withdrew my hat quickly enough for the coachman to suppose that they had fallen from heaven. Sometimes I did even worse. I threw snowballs at him when he was driving, thereby endangering the valuable lives on him and his employer. I had another amusement which I much enjoyed. On a Sunday, when the park was crowded, I would climb to the very top of the large beech tree on the edges of our ground. There I would hang upside down and scream and watch the crowd gravely discussing how a rescue should be effected. When I saw them nearing a decision, I would get the right way up the quietly calm down. During the time when Gemini stayed with me, I was led into even more desperate courses. The bath chair in which I remembered my grandfather being wheeled about had been locked in a lumber room. We found it there and raised it down whatever hill we could find. When this was discovered, it was considered blasphemy, and we were reproached with melancholy gravity. Some of our doing whatever, however, never came to the ear of the grown up. We tied a rope to the branches of the tree and learned by long practice to swing in the complete circle and return to our starting point. It was only by great skill that one could avoid stopping halfway and bumping one back painfully into the rough bark of the tree. When other boys came to visit us, we used to carry out the correct performance ourselves, and when the other attempt to imitate us, we maliciously excuse in their painful failure. My uncle Rollo, with whom for a while we used to spend 3 months each year, had 3 cows and a donkey. The donkey was more intelligent than the cow and learned to open the gates between the field with the nose, but he was said to be unruly and unless I did not believe this, and after some unsuccessful attempt I learned to ride him without saddle and bridle. He would kick and buck, but he never got off except when I had tied a can full of rattlestones to his tail. I used to ride him all around the country, even when I went to visit the daughter of Lord Wolsey, who lived about 3 miles from my uncle's house. How expository writing deals in definition, explanation, and interpretation. Expository writing deals with definition, explanation, and interpretation and includes writing on science, law, philosophy, technology, political science, history, and criticism. Expository is a form of logical presentation. Its primary object is to explain and clarify its present details concretely and exactly. Expository writing is writing that explains, but we are not interested in writing that merely explains. We are interested in expository writing that can be read as literature. The following of the pieces of expository prose like this. In the leg 3 are two bones, the tibia and fibula. The tibia or shin bone is long and strong and bear the weight of the body. The fibula or splint bone is an equally long but much splintered bone and is attached to the tibia as the pin is to a brooch. Leonard Hill's Manual of Human Physiology. This pieces clearly define the two bones, the tibia and the fibula, but can this be read as literature? Now mark another big difference between the natural salvary of the man of the nature and the unnatural salvary of the man to man. Nature is a kind of her slaves. If she forces you to eat and drink, she makes eating and drinking so pleasant that when we can afford it, when we eat and drink too much, we must sleep or go mad. But when sleep is so pleasant that we have great difficulties in getting up in the morning, and firesides and family seems so pleasant to the young that they get married and join building societies to realize their dreams, thus insist of resenting and our natural wants as slavery. We take the greatest pleasure in their satisfaction. We write sentimental songs in praise of them. A tramp can earn his super by singing Home Sweet Home, and slavery of man to man is the very opposite of this. It is hateful to the body and to the spirit. Our poets do not praise it. They proclaim that no man is good enough to be another man's master. The latest of the great Jewish prophets, a gentleman named Mark, spent his life is proving that there is no extremity of selfish cruelty at which the slavery of the man to man will stop if it be not stopped by law. We can see for yourself that is produce a state of continual civil war called the class war between the slaves and their masters, organized as trade union on one side of employer federation on the other. There is clear differences between the two passages. Shaw put across his arguments logically and convincingly. He first talks about the natural slavery of the man of nature by giving a series of examples. He then contrasts this with unnatural slavery of the man to man. By use of contrast, this argument is further strengthened. The result is that difficult concepts like freedom and slavery are readily understood. What is, however, remarkable is that his use of simple language, tongue-in-cheek manner, and conversational style immediately strike a sympathetic and receptive distinctive chords in the reader. These two passages must have given you some ideas about the difference between literally and non-literally expository writing. Write a note on the life of Jam- sorry. Write a note on a life of Jamaica Kincaid in Kincaid, Jamaica Kincaid. The black writer Jamaica Kincaid was born in 1949 as Ellen Porter Richardson in the Caribbean island of Antigua and did her schooling there. Although she was very intelligent, her education was interrupted when her third brother was born at as her stepmother was sick and could no longer long support them. She went to the United States at the age of 17. She was supposed to be the breadwinner for the family but refused to send the money home and instead tried to get an education. She studied photography at the New York School of Social Research and attended Franconia College in New Hampshire for some time. In 1973, she changed her name to Jamaica Kincaid because her family disapproved of her writing and she did not want them to know about it. She began writing articles and short stories and took up a job with the magazine The New Yorker, where she worked as a staff writer from 1976 and 1995. She married Alan Shawn, the son of William Shawn, the New Yorker long-time editor. Jamaica Kincaid is the author of novels, short story, and non-fiction work. She is a visiting professor and teaches creative writing in the Harvard University. Issues of race, gender, class, and colonialism dominate her writing, and her mother-daughter relationship is a recurrent theme. Her first work, At the Bottom of the River, 1983, was a volume of short stories based on childhood in the Caribbean. Her first novel, Annie John, 1985, set in Antigua, explored the fires up and down of the daughter's love for her mother and her motherland. Other novel includes A Small Place, 1988, Lucy, 1990, which begins with a girl living Antigua for America, as Jamaica Kincaid herself did, and the autobiography of my mother, 1995, a first person narrative which a woman looked back on her troubled life. The essay on seeing England for the first time was first published in Harper magazine in 1991. Speaking about her major theme in all her writing, she said, I was always being told I should be something, and then my whole upbringing was something I was not. It was English. A significant voice of contemporary literature, Jamaica Kincaid born Ellen Portrait Richardson in 1949, widely praised of her work of short fiction novel and essay in which she explores the tenuous relationship between mother and daughter as well as the theme and anti-colonialisms. A native of Antigua, Kincaid is considered one of the most important women Caribbean writers. Once her brother was born, Kincaid felt sidelined by her mother to drown her heart attack. She became a voracious reader, listing Jane Eyre as one on her all-time favorite novel. At the age of 17, she moved to the New York City to work as an au pair. Although it was her original goal to become published author, that that quickly became her reality. Kincaid went on to become a highly prolific writer, often writing about the heart attack of the daughter brought on by the rejection of her mother. Over a career that has spanned more than 3 decades, Kincaid has earned a reputable place in the literary world for her highly personal, stylic, and honest writer. Jamaica Kincaid was born Elaine Potter Richardson on May 25, 1949, in the capital city of Saint John on Antigua, a small island in the West Indies that was colonized by the British in 1632 and achieved full independence in 1981. Her mother, Annie Richardson, was an emerged from Dominica. Her stepfather, David Drew, was a carpenter and cabinet maker. Kincaid's maternal grandmother, a Carib Indian, also played an important role in her early life. Kincaid's biological father, Roderick Potter, was never involved in her upbringing. Her family was poor. They had no electricity, running water, and plumbing in their home. Kincaid was an only child until she was 9, at which time the first of her 3 brothers was born. Until their birth, Kincaid had enjoyed a sole attention of her mother, who taught her to read when she was 3 and had given her a copy of Oxford English Dictionary when she turned 7. However, with the arrival of her brothers, Kincaid's relationship with her mother changed dramatically. She was no longer a dependent young child, on her importance in her mother's eyes was severely diminished because she was female. Although Kincaid was intellectually gifted, she was not given encouragement in a British public school she attended on the island. Her teacher frequently found her attitude rude and considered her a troublemaker. Nevertheless, she was a avid reader and spent much time at the city library, getting to know and admire the young librarian who worked there. Kincaid's love for book was so fierce that she stole some from library and hid them under her family porch. The bookish and small child was not well liked by her peers, who often picked fight with her and beat her up. Discussing this period in her life, Kincaid recalled in a Kenyon Review interview with Moria Ferguson in 1994, "I would come home with my clothes in tatters and my face scratched up, and my mother would take me back to the person who had beaten me up and say, 'Fight, fight,' and I could not fight. I would cry and cry. Eventually, after years of abuse, when she was 11, Kincaid finally did fight back and win. After that, she was no longer tormented. She actually looked on a leadership role. As a girl, there were few options available for Kincaid. She would have liked to have attended university in Antigua and remained there after becoming a teacher or a librarian, but she was not given that opportunity. Despite the shortcoming of her early education, she did acquire a strong background in English literature, studying the work of Shakespeare, Wordsworth, Keats, and the King James Version of the Bible. Kincaid especially loved the work of Charlotte Bronte, reading Jane numerous times. ऐसे इसका नेक्स्ट पार्ट हम नेक्स्ट वीडियो में कवर करेंगे। हमारे चैनल से बने रहने के लिए हमारे चैनल को कर लीजिए सब्सक्राइब और साथ ही प्रेस कीजिए बेल आइकन, जिससे आपको न्यू वीडियोस एंड अपडेट्स मिलती रहे। और आपको ऐसे पीडीएफ्स के नोट्स चाहिए तो आप हमारे दिए गए हुए कॉन्टैक्ट्स पे कांटेक्ट करके आप हमसे पीडीएफ ले सकते हैं। थैंक यू।